Hey, what's up guys? Drew here over at Rough Hiker Outdoors, and as you can see, I'm being an idiot in my house. It's about 4 below zero right now, and I'm trying to test out some different things to keep my hammock warm. And I see a lot of guys buying underquilts and all these different things, and truthfully I just don't have the money for it. So I've been kind of dreaming up in my mind just a little bit of maybe some tricks or something I could do to keep the cost down, use things that I already have to keep warm with the same idea as an underquilt. So what I've done here is I've had this set up in my house for a while. I've got some hooks in my office just stuck into studs in the walls. And what I do is I use my regular rigging system and I put everything all together. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm hanging in my office, and what I've done is I've taken an old sleeping bag, and it's a mummy bag, and what I've done is down at the end and the foot pocket is I've cut about an 8-inch hole, and I just did it with my pocket knife because this is an old bag. It's an old 0-degree bag that was just kind of beat up and old and ugly colored. So I decided, you know what, maybe I'll try to use that and see if, I don't know, maybe I could figure something out to get this thing to work and be warm. So what I've done is I cut the hole in the end so I could put the hammock all the way through, and this would act as an underquilt and then also as like a blanket on top, because the main thing with sleeping bags is when you sleep on them you compress all the insulation and they lose most of their value. So what I'm going to do now is try to lay down in this thing and see if I can get it over. This is actually the first test I have not tested this out so far, so I'm going to kind of test it out on camera and see where we get. So bear with me, this might be a process that I have to work on a little bit. So far though, seems like it's working pretty good. I've got the zipper over on this far side. Let's zipper this up all the way. See what kind of room we have in here. So like I said, this is the reason I like this is because this would cost me a grand total of $0 to improve my sleep system. The only thing I have to think about is this hood, the mummy hood. Not quite sure how to get that to stay. Maybe I should cut a hole and let that slip over the top. But I'll let it droop for now, but this is actually pretty awesome. I think this is going to work, guys. Once I get this hood figured out, of course. But right now I can feel a lot of there's a lot of loose underneath me, which means there's going to be an air pocket, which means I should stay pretty warm. My only concern would be losing a little bit of heat out of the foot pocket. Because there is a hole there, so who knows, maybe I'll have to stuff something up in there. But as far as, sometimes I like to lay on my side in the hammock, and I don't know if you guys heard that, but I hope this thing doesn't come crashing in. I'll rip my walls in on me. But right now this is working pretty good. It's a little, well, as with any sleeping bag, it's going to be a little cramped when you're on your side, but I can definitely see this working, for sure. And got just enough room in the feet. Mummy bags were never super comfy like that anyway. Now my only concern, one of my only concerns, is that a lot of times in a hammock, I like to lay diagonally. I don't, straight through the hammock. I kind of twist and get on a bit of an angle to flatten it out. It might not be all that possible here, and the only reason that I like to lay a little diagonally is for pressure on my knees, because the hammock is doing this and your knees don't bend backwards. So what I would probably have to do is take my pack and stick it up underneath my knees just for a little support so it doesn't put any pressure on there. But anyway guys, what I'll do now is I'll show you a couple things. First I'll show you how I cut this hole in the end, and I did take a little bit of video while I was doing it. Now, just as a caution, I don't want anyone thinking that I'm just like a total doofus here. What I did is, when I cut it open, there's your outer layer, your shell, and then your insulation, and then your inner lining. And so what I had to do is, that's all kind of just sitting there frayed apart after I cut it. So what I did is, when I cut it open, I just took a little duct tape and went around the whole edge of the thing to just keep everything together. Now, I did that because I didn't feel like, sewing the whole thing up for something that wasn't going to work. So again, I just did it quick and dirty, but let's take a look. I'll show you how I hang this when I'm out camping. I'll show you the knots I use, and then I'll also show you the end. I'll show you the end first, and then I'll show you the suspension later. And again, if I can get this hood figured out, which what I'll probably end up doing is just cutting another slit in that hood so that it holds up on top. But when I get that figured out, I will take this out in the woods and try to spend a night in it and let you guys see how it performs. Now, I'm not exactly sure if I'll be doing that all that soon because the forecast isn't looking good, and this bag is rated for 0. That's when it was new, before it was beat up, and I'm supposed to be in the negatives plus wind chill. So we'll see, but let's right now just take a look at the other stuff. Okay guys, so here you can see this is where I cut that hole, and you can see that all I did was I just duct taped around the edge so that all the fluff and that kind of stuff wasn't hanging out of it. Really didn't do anything special. Now this is nice because all I do to hook this up is when I disconnect the one end, or before I connect it, I slide the whole sleeping bag over top of it, and then I hook it up, and then the bag just stays off the ground. It doesn't flop all over the place. So then when I get ready to get in, I just slide this back up to where I need it. Now let's take a look at the suspension. Okay guys, so here's my suspension, and basically this is all it is. I tie, I'll show you the knots in a second, but all this is I used a bolt because that's what's there. But when I'm hiking, I'll grab a stick that is, looks fairly strong, usually, about thumb size or better, and I take a loop that I tie in here, and all I do is push it through the loop on the hammock, stick my toggle in there, and bang, that's all that does. Now, as far as taking this down and what knots I use, there's a couple advantages to tying it like this. Number one is my tarp usually comes to about here. And so if there's any rain that runs down this acts as a drip line and wicks away a lot of the moisture. But what I've done here is I've just tied basically a slip knot. And actually, let me just show you how I do that. Because basically, it just pops out easy. So all you do to tie this is turn it over on itself and then come through. Pull the loop through. Alright? That's going to make your knot, but that means this side can slide as big or as small as you need it. Once you get adjusted to where you want it, you just kind of do the same thing. The way this is hanging, I'll just go underneath, but you just go behind this, reach through and pull this and snug it down. And then that locks that from sliding. So when you first get in, it'll move a little bit, but it's going to be nice and strong. Now, I do recommend using some form of webbing. This is rated for 1,800 pounds. I used some paracord one time, and while it held and it's supposed to be 550 pounds and all that stuff, on the pressure points like here and in the knot, it was rubbing on itself, and as it kept stretching, it actually cut into itself and weakened it. And about halfway through the night, after some swinging and bouncing around a little bit, I had paracord snap, and I ended up on the ground and I wasn't very happy, so I switched to a webbing, and then never had any issues. But you can see that when you do it like this, when you tie it with the slip knot like this, and then lock it with like just a little hitch, you know, okay, here, so here's your loop. But when you want to go to untie this, it's just one motion and the whole thing pops right out. No tangles, no mess. So anyway, that's that. Now I'm going to finish modifying the sleeping bag and then show you guys if I've got that hood just where I need it. Okay guys, so I got this top one cut, and now with the bag unzipped I'm going to attempt to get in this. I didn't really, you know, it's making it a little difficult to open the bag, so we'll, or excuse me, the hammock, so let's just see how this works. See if I can break something here. There we go. The trick is to get the feet down at the end far enough and the head far enough at this end so that your hammock can open. Right now I've got the zipper on the top, make things a little easier. But seemingly, see if I can cinch down the head part. Now guys, when you do this, I'd recommend using a sleeping bag that you don't care much for, because there's a good chance you might wreck it. But let's see. Hey, look at that. Let's tighten these up. I think that's about as good as it gets for a free underquilt. Now I say free, it's because I had this thing hanging around. Feels like it's going to work. Still have some slack on the bottom, so I'm not going to lose all my insulation through compression. Now I would still put a pad inside here. I've got an inflatable Thermarest 3/4 that I would probably put in here just for extra insulation, but you know, this is really just to test out and see if this is possible. I've always wondered about this and I kept wanting to test it, but I didn't want to buy an underquilt, so I finally just broke down, sliced my bag open and did it. So yeah, I think this will work. Got just enough room in here, and yeah, I could see this being pretty good. So let me pop out of here, and I'll show you exactly what I did on the head part of this deal. I think the biggest disadvantage is possibly getting in and out with this setup. I think I'm going to have to find some good way to do it. And my walls are caving in. Okay guys, so now you can see what I've done here. Same thing as the bottom. Literally, I don't like that much. Literally all I did was just slice about 6-8 inch hole in here, and I just covered the outsides with duct tape. And for when I'm getting in, I just kind of set that right there, and it kind of holds it just enough where if I unzip the bag I can sit in there and get down in. And then once I'm in, this bag has, you know, some pull cords where you can cinch down the head as all mummy bags do. This one has an interior and then the outside one. So I think this is really going to work out. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is my version of a free underquilt. So I think now don't take this thing as gospel yet. I would I'd wait around till I try this out, but in all reality I see it working the exact same way. It's hanging underneath with a slight air gap, and you have all that insulation, and then I have the rest of the bag on top. So in theory this should work. But stick around, and in the next few days I'll try to get out and give this a proper test. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe. And I am now officially, for my channel, I am on Instagram and Twitter. So go ahead and follow me there. I'll put some links in the description box below. Thanks a lot, guys. God bless.